Hey, shalom, shalom, most high in Christ. Bless. Officer Micah here with IUIC New Orleans. Today's class is the fear of marriage. So hopefully you'll get some out of this class. Let's get right into it. Let me get Romans chapter 15, verse 4. Start with some precepts, and then we're going to get into some articles and some literature. Uh, let's get into some precepts. Lord's will. This class will benefit some of you. Read that.
Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
So things that were written before time were written for us to learn from. They were written for us to learn and to apply. Let's get Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 17. Leviticus, the 26th chapter and the 17th verse. Because today in society, our people, we don't understand that we still need to learn. And a lot of the behaviors that we have, they will learn from somewhere. We're going to get into a lot of these behaviors today. Read that for me.
Leviticus chapter 26, verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies.
Read on.
They that hate you shall reign over you.
We must understand that there are nations that hate us, and they're in a position of authority over us because of our disobedience to the one true God. Read on.
And ye shall flee when none pursueth you.
So there's a nation, one in particular, they're holding all the cards right now. Give me Deuteronomy 28, verse 48.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48.
Come on.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
The scriptures say we will serve our enemies because we were disobedient to God. Read on.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
Read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So in want of all things, in educational things, we have to serve him. Acts 8 and 30. And he would teach us. He's not going to teach us the right way, though. So the things that we've been taught, the programming that we've received, it's not of God, according to these nations out here that are ruling things today. Acts chapter 8, verse 30 and 31.
Acts chapter 8, verse 30. And Philip ran thither to him, and he heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest?
Come on.
And he said, How can I, except some man shall guide me?
Because our people today, they don't understand that they have to be guided. They have to be retaught God's commandments. Read on.
And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him.
Now I'm going to give Hosea 3 and 4. Hosea chapter 3 and verse 4. I know y'all are saying, yeah, we've heard these before. Yeah, you're right, but repetition creates mastery. We have to read these precepts daily, and apply what we read. Read that.
Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. For the children of Israel should abide many days without a king and without a prince.
So you children of Israel, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, read.
And without a sacrifice. And without an image.
And without a what?
And without an image.
Because the imagery today is not a good one of our people. It's not a good representation of us as a nation. Excuse me. Now let's get Psalm chapter 83. And let's see what kind of things took place that impacted this imagery. Psalm chapter 83.
Psalm chapter 83 and verse 1.
I want to jump to verse 2.
Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies. Thine enemies.
So we must understand and acknowledge that we have enemies. Everybody is not your friend. We have enemies, and they seek to destroy us. Read on.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Read on.
They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So they said, let's cut them off from being a nation. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
And that's when we get these bywords, these proverbs, these wise sayings about us. Let's cut them off from being a nation. How do you do that? How do you cut off a nation? You cut off the things that they grew up and they were trained to do. All right, we're going to stop there. Let's get the first slide. Let's find out some fear, what fear is. Let's see how it plagues us as a community. Read that for me.
Fear is not as automatic as you think. Fear is part instinct, part learned, part taught.
So it says fear, I look at it in three parts. You have one part that's an instinct, you have a part that's learned, and you have a part that's taught. Like certain parts of instincts is, okay, if I fall, I fear of getting hurt. Like if some type of incident like that. And then you have some things that are learned. All right, go back, read on, watch this.
Some fears are instinctive. Pain, for example, causes fear because of its implications for survival.
So that could be something like if you're mortally wounded, if you're injured to a point where you could lose your life. So we all have that fear. But now there's other fears that we have that were taught. Go back, read on.
Other fears are learned. We learn to be afraid of certain people, places, or situations because of negative associations and past experiences.
So how does this tie into marriage? How do these things tie into marriage? We're going to get to it. Read on.
A near drowning incident, for example, may cause fear each time you get close to a body of water. Other fears are taught. Cultural norms often dictate whether something should be feared or not.
So hold on right there. It says cultural norms. 1 in 4 of our sisters get married. Where does that fear come from? Because that's a fear there, and our people, as quiet as it kept, they won't admit where it comes from. Who teaches these fears? Go back, read on.
Think, for example, about how certain social groups are feared and persecuted because of a societal created impression that they are dangerous.
So is that not the narrative that's put out about the so-called blacks, Hispanic, Native American men today? Oh, they're dangerous. He gonna misuse you. He not gonna do you right. Ain't no good men out there. All women are this, all men are that. That's a fear that's created, and that eats away at our society. Read the next one.
How does children learn fear?
Because this is where it starts. This is where it starts. Captain Irel says all the time, hurt people. Read.
Research shows that babies do not appear to show signs of fear until around 8 to 12 months of age, usually in response to new people or events, but they are less likely to show a fear of strangers when sitting on a parent's lap. And while some fears may be innate in humans, many fears are learned, perhaps most commonly by seeing a parent react fearfully to an animal or situation, or to frequently warn a child about its dangers.
Or to frequently warn children of dangers. To frequently stay away from those men, they're dangerous. Stay away from those women, they're dangerous. You don't need to be married. You can do bad all by yourself. Why do you want a husband? Why do you want a wife? Let's get the Willy Lynch letter. Let's get it. Let's get the Willy Lynch letter. Let's see where some of where this stems from. Let's see who teaches these things.
Let's make a slave. The breaking process of the African woman. Then take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desire willingly.
So it said, let's run some tests. Let's run some tests. If you don't think that the devil today is running tests on our sisters, you're sadly mistaken. Look at the entertainment industry. Look at what they give us. They give us Sexy Red, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, Glorilla. They give these things to our sisters. Hands on your knees. They give them these songs. They program our people. These are tests. These are social experiments they run on our people. Read on.
Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics.
Why is she the most important factor for good economics? Who do the children usually reside with? When things go bad, Lord forbid that they do, when a husband and a wife, Lord forbid they split, who do the children go with? Who is left to teach and to train up those children? They don't give them to the men. They give them to the women. That's why I said they're important for good economics. Read on.
If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of bitch out of her.
Now bring that up to today. They not bull whipping our sisters in the streets. Well, in certain countries, they whipping our sisters. And, hey, we got a lot of work to do. But what do? They punish our people. They take away certain things that our people they know that they need. They take away their WIC, they Section 8, they welfare, they call CPS on our people. They take away these things. That is a way to punish our sisters. Read on.
Take care not to kill her.
Don't kill her, read.
For in doing so, you spoil good economics.
Uh-huh.
When in complete submission, she would train her offspring in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age.
She will put that fear in them, and they will be complete slaves. Next part. Come on.
Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter.
It said, understand this. That first part, they knew exactly what they were reading. They were looking at classical, they were conditioning our people. They said, hey, you have to understand this is the baseline. This is the foundation. Understand this is the foundation you must set to create the perfect offspring of slaves. Read on.
Therefore, we should go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female nigger. We have reversed relationships. In her natural uncivilized state, she would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male.
So she would have the right way, she would depend upon her man. She would depend upon her husband, her lord in the house. She would depend upon that. But now they've created this monstrosity, this Frankenstein monster. Read on. Now what does she depend on?
And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and would raise the female offspring to be dependent like her.
So she would, in the right society, in the right environment, she would raise the daughters to be dependent upon their father, their man, like she would be. But in their world, they flip things wrong side up. Now, what is she doing? Go back. Watch this.
Nature had provided time with this balance. We reversed nature.
They did what?
We reversed nature.
They reversed nature. They engineered things to be wrong. Crafty counsel. This is what the devil does. Read on.
We reversed nature by burning and pulling one civilized nigger apart and bull whipping the other to the point of death. All in her presence.
Next article. Come on.
By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed.
With the male image destroyed. That's that fear. That's that fear that was put into our sisters. And the children, they have to, then what does the mother do? She transmits that culture to the offspring. Go back, read on.
The ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles.
In reverse roles. What have you got? Come on.
For fear of the young man's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong.
So he'll be strong as hell, but his mentality will be weak. Read on.
Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to be psychologically independent. What have you got?
What have you got? Next part. Watch this.
You've got the nigger woman out front and the man behind and scared.
And what?
And scared.
Now you got a fearful man. And the sisters, they have that fear too. They're using their fear. It's a psychological defense now. Because they think in their mind, okay, what I'm doing is right. I'm training my daughter not to need a man. I'm training my man. I'm training my children I'm training the boy children not to be men. They grew up, they have all the physical attributes of a man, but their mentality is of a child. Arrested development. Read on, come on.
This is a perfect situation for sound sleep and economics.
For good economics and sound sleep, guess what? They won't work together. They won't do anything constructive for their community. They won't come together. They won't unite because guess what? They've trained them in reverse roles. Read on.
Before the breaking process, we had to alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear.
Out of what?
Out of frozen fear.
Out of frozen fear. Read.
His woman stands guard for us.
She's standing guard against him. The reverse process. That's what happens to our people, and we still carry those traumas. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is real. Read on.
Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her infant slave process.
Damn, he can't get past that. The brother got to fight. Now he got to fight in his own house. Now what are men doing? Like, man, I'm going to marry outside to other nations. They won't even marry their own women. And the women won't marry their own men. There is that fear created. And it was manufactured here in good old Babylon the Great. Read on. Come on. We almost done with these.
He cannot get past her infant slave process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age.
Damn.
By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for life's sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force.
Come on, next one.
Continually, through the breaking of civilized savage niggas by the throwing of nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independency by killing the protective male image by creating a submissive dependent mind of the nigger male savage. We have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever.
Cycle has been created that turns on its own orbit forever. Get me Psalms 82:5. Because guess what? The scriptures is changing that. We don't have to be afraid anymore. We don't have to be afraid anymore. But the remnants of this is still in our people today. It's still in our people. It's deeply rooted in our people. As much as we try to deny it, we still see in the aftermath of this right here. Read that.
Psalm chapter 82, verse 5. They know not, neither would they understand. They walk on in darkness.
Read.
All the foundations of the earth are out of course.
When you have a woman out front leading and the man behind being weak and docile, the elements of the earth are out of course. Get me the definition of operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning is a learning process.
Is a what?
A learning process.
Read.
That uses rewards and punishments.
That uses rewards and punishments to do what?
To change voluntary behaviors.
Because today, get Ecclesiastes 7:7. Today, what do they do today? They give our people gifts, incentives. They incentivize bad behavior. Reward versus punishment. Really think about it. When you do something good, you're more likely to be, in what society defines as good today, you're more likely to be punished for doing something good. Hell, we saw it at a blitz. We went to go help some of our people, and they, get away from me. You're doing a good thing, but guess what? Our people are so messed up that we don't even know how to receive the things that are good, like receive good help. Read that. Watch this.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart.
A gift will destroy our people's mind. It will destroy our mind. Let's get our first video.
Tonight, Pam, where you be safe.
But he'll be mad.
Oh, no, because he and I are going to have a man-to-man conversation.
Now, with this video here, this is a father. This is a father. This is what the right way looks like. Now, we're not advocating any violence, but this is what a father does. Play on. Watch this. I don't want to spoil it.
I'm really scared.
Pam, don't be. There's no reason to be. I promise you.
No, I'm just gonna go with him.
Oh, Pam, baby, I just can't let you do that.
Notice, this is what the father's doing. He said, look, I can't let you do that. He's protecting the daughter here. He's protecting her. This is what a father's supposed to do. Go ahead.
No, baby, you don't have to.
You wasting your time.
Bruh, 1 minute.
I'm telling you, and you're not hearing me.
Hey, brother, you might just...
Hey, Marcus, listen, maybe we should just let her go.
No way.
She's coming with me.
Did you see how he just he's setting everything in order? He's letting the wife know, letting the daughter, hey, look, you're not going with this Negro. You're not going. And he's telling him, look, I don't even know how this dude is in his house, but go ahead, play on. Come on. I'm gonna stop interjecting. Go ahead.
I understand that you want to go with him, but how about this? How about Angela takes you upstairs and just shows you where you'd be staying? And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. How about that? Does that sound fair?
Oh, baby, listen, I think that sounds fair.
Is that okay, Curtis?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, he said it's fine, it's fine. So just go check out the room. If you don't like it, then just tell Angela, baby, take her to our room first and close the door.
The mind well instructed. He said, take us to our room first, close the door. Go ahead.
No.
Close the door, and no matter what you hear, stay up there.
Baby, but...
Now, go.
Did you see how the spirit I'm sorry. Did you see how the spirit changed when he got the women out of there? This is the husband in the house, the Lord in the house. The spirit just changed. Now go ahead, watch.
It's gonna go. I'm sorry to be the one that has to tell you.
No, I understand. But as men, we have an understanding that sometimes women folk don't quite get. Just so there is no misunderstanding between us. I want you to know, I'm about to whip your ass.
Baby, sit down.
All right, that's it. Notice, I'm not advocating violence, but fathers are protectors. All right, the mother and the children one. Get that one for me. The mother and the children one. Because this is what, now we know that everybody's like, oh man, they laughing and everything, this and the third. But on a serious note, this is what's being perpetuated, and this is what we see today. The mother and the children are better off if the husband isn't working. It's an older video. It's a much older video, but the points are very, very relevant for us as a nation today.
A lot of people are capable of working and are willing to work, but it's just the way it's set up. The mother and the children are better off if the husband isn't working or if the husband isn't there, and this breaks up so many poor families.
Did you hear that part right there? It said, this breaks up so many poor families. Play on.
One of the saddest things is that many of the children whose parents are on welfare will in their turn end up in the welfare trap when they grow up. In this public housing project in the Bronx... Did y'all hear
it right there? It said many parents that are on welfare, their children are going to end up into that welfare. And you see it today. You'll have a mother. She'll be doing the best she can. She'll be on welfare. She'll have a daughter. What is she going to teach that daughter? Hey, this is the way that you have to survive. And guess what? The child will end up either living with the mother with a child, or she'll be in the same apartment complex, i.e. the projects, with a child. And with no husband. Play on.
3/4 of the families are now receiving welfare payments.
Well, Mr. Brown wanted to keep away from this kind of thing for a very good reason. The people who get on welfare lose their human independence and feeling of dignity. They become subject to the dictates and whims of their welfare supervisor, who can tell them whether they can live here or there, whether they may put in a telephone, what they may do with their lives. They're treated like children. not like responsible adults. And they're trapped in the system. Maybe a job comes up that looks better than welfare, but they're afraid to take it.
Did you hold on right there? It says maybe a job will come up that's better than welfare. But what will our people do? They will not take it. That fear that's being taught, they won't take that job because they fear that they'll lose their welfare. Really think about this. This has been conditioned in our people. That run it back just a little bit. So I want this point to hit home. That's why I wanted to go through all those Willy Lynch literature. Listen to this. Go ahead.
Adults, and they're trapped in the system.
It says they are trapped in this system. They are trapped in this system. They can't get out. And so what do the children learn in that environment? Now you got to think about it. This was back in the 70s. These are marital age men and women today. What have they learned? What have they learned? What has been taught to them? Play on.
Maybe a job comes up that looks better than welfare, but they're afraid to take it because if they lose it after a few months, it may be 6 months or 9 months before they can get back onto welfare. And as a result, this becomes a self-perpetuating cycle rather than simply a temporary state of affairs.
It becomes a cycle, an orbiting cycle. Now, let's get Man of Steel. Let's get the book Man of Steel. Because this is a good, I'll put it up there. It's a good book you can read. It's got some good points in it. It's called Man of Steel and Velvet, A Guide to Masculine Development by Dr. Aubrey Alden. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, sister. But go into the book. Read that. Watch this.
A man's most important responsibility is to be the guide.
Is to be the what?
The guide.
He's supposed to be the lead. A man is designed to lead. Read on.
A man's most important responsibility is to be the guide, protector, and provider for his wife and children.
Uh-huh.
This role is not merely a result of custom or tradition.
It said, notice, it's not a result of custom or tradition. But what? Watch this.
But is of divine origin.
It is of what?
Of divine origin.
I didn't write this book. Read on. Watch this.
The Holy Scriptures designate man as head of the family.
As what?
As head of the family.
Give me Bible. 1 Corinthians 11:3. We're going to go back to this book. It says divine origin. I mean, God said it. God set this up. And this sister got enough sense. I don't know if it's a sister, but our people ain't our people need to hear this. She got enough sense to know that, hey, the man is the head. Satan knows it too. The damn devil knows this too, but he said, look, I want to put the woman over the man. Read that, 1 Corinthians 11:3.
1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
Uh-huh.
And the head of the woman is the man.
That's Bible. Now go back to the book. That is Bible. It said the head of the woman is the man. They know this. Read.
The Holy Scriptures designate man as the head of the family.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning.
In the what?
In the beginning.
Uh-huh.
When God created man and woman and placed them into the world with instructions to subdue it, he said to the woman,
watch this.
Thy desire Thy desire shall be to thy husband.
It said thy desire should be to your husband. Genesis 3:16. He said your desire gonna be to your husband. It didn't say you were gonna rule over him. But you go out here, our people go out here and get caught up in feminism. I am woman, hear me roar, all this foolishness. No. They got enough. I didn't write this book. Read that, Genesis 3:16. Let's see where they got it from.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children.
Read.
And thy desire shall be to thy husband.
Come on.
And he shall rule over thee.
It said he's going to be over you, your husband. That was not, you would not put her to just have babies without a husband. Go back to the article.
Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee.
Damn.
Genesis 3:16.
Then they put it in the book. Read.
Many years later, the Apostle Paul reaffirmed this principle.
So they said Paul said the same thing. Hey, people, Christians do not read the Bible. Read on.
When he said, the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
That's in the black community, that right there. Our sisters, they don't want to do that. And brothers, don't get it twisted. Ephesians 5:1-20, you have to be applying those. That don't mean you dog the woman out I'm not saying brothers do that, but brothers, you can't misuse what the Lord has placed you with. You can't misuse it. You got to deal with them according to knowledge. Go back.
Ephesians 5:23. He also told the women to reverence their husbands.
To do what?
To reverence their husbands.
To respect their husbands. It didn't say respect your baby daddy or your sneaky link. It says to respect, to reverence your husband. Read.
Ephesians 5:33. Peter, the apostle, also supported this principle by saying, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands.
Scroll up. Because
Peter 3:1.
The Willy Lynch letter, it was contrary to all of this. It was contrary to all of this. We read it. They said, look, let's make the woman strong so she'll teach her daughters to be strong. And let's make the men weak so they'll be good for economics. They'll be physically strong and mentally weak. They won't know a God-given place. They will not be in rulership. They'll be subservient behind the woman. Read, watch this.
That the man is born to protect women.
That is what?
That the man is born to protect women. And children is apparent when considering his body build, which is larger, stronger, and has greater endurance than the woman.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I did not write this. Read on. Watch this.
The woman is different, having a body build that is delicate and sometimes fragile. She has the unique capacity of bearing children. Proof that man was commissioned to provide the living is supported by God's instructions. When he said, in the sweat of thy face should thou eat bread. Genesis 3:19.
They even put the scripture, because the scriptures tell us that they are the weaker vessel. They're weaker than us.
This command was not given to the woman, but to the man. Although she was to be a helpmeet and sometimes worked in the fields with him, it was not her direct responsibility to provide the living.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. It said it was not her responsibility to try to be out front leading and try to provide. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need. Yes, Negro, you need a man. Read on. Watch this.
Man's role as the guide,
as the leader,
protector, and provider, and his first and foremost responsibility, no other duty can compare to it.
What? Hold on. Read that part again.
No other duty can compare to it.
No other duty, sisters. Y'all not built to do this. You're not built to do that. Read on.
No other duty can compare to it. No other duty replace it. Urgent, of course, is his additional responsibility to contribute as a builder of society in assisting to solve problems.
And what?
And meet needs in his community.
Damn. To build up the nation. That's what men build the nation of Israel. Women, y'all got an important role, but just take the back seat, be a helpmeet, support, keep us at home, and be helpmeets. Men are out. Men take the risk. Men are out front. Read. Come on. Let's finish this up.
But these things are secondary to his obligation at home. His usefulness in the community is realized principally as he builds a happy home.
That's it on that? All right, give me Jeremiah 31:22. Now, what has happened today? Books like this, they don't let Negroes read books like this for some reason. But what has happened today? Jeremiah 31:22. This is what has happened today.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man.
So that's what we see in society today. that women have surpassed men. And what comes with that, Sirach 25 and 22. Watch this. This is what comes with that. When you see the women out front leading and the men taking those back seats. Now, I'm not saying this is all brothers, because a lot of brothers are still out there putting in work, doing things for the Lord. They're getting it done. But when you see women out here out front, they're looking at, they're measuring things up based upon how much money they can make, how big the bag they can get. They getting mortgages, car payments, and all this stuff. And then they'll attach themselves to a dude that ain't doing that stuff. And what happens? Give me that. Read that, Sirach 25, 22.
The book of Sirach, chapter 25, verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband.
These sisters are stressed out because they have to maintain men that they don't want to be with. Read.
A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
And much reproach. Come on. Was that it on that?
Yes, sir.
Sirach 36, 22.
The book of Sirach, chapter 36, verse 22. The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loving nothing better.
Read.
If there be kindness.
If there be what?
Kindness.
Because if a woman is maintaining a husband or maintaining I'm going to call it what it is today, because you don't see very many marriages because they're fierce. If she's maintaining a boyfriend, we know the Bible don't condone that. But if she's maintaining a boyfriend, she's not going to have any of these things right here. You won't see it. Read on. Watch this.
If there be kindness, meekness, and comfort in her tongue, then is not her husband like other men.
There is the answers to a lot of the problems our sisters have. Sisters, if you possess a lot of these, I'm not saying that's the know-all be-all, but if you possess a lot of those attributes right there, it won't be difficult for you to get a husband. Now, if you out here neck rolling, nigga, you can't tell me what to do, you ain't my daddy, all this and the third, because that's a lot of stuff that's being taught to our sisters. It's going to be real hard for you to settle down and be a wife, because that's honorable. Read on. Watch this.
He that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, a help like unto himself.
So she's going to be a help like unto himself. She's not going to be out here in these streets. She's not going to be out here trying to be on baby daddy number 3, 4, 5. She's not going to be doing all that. Read.
And a pillar of rest.
She's going to be a pillar of rest. Read.
Where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled.
And now, without those things, where there is no hedge, the woman is spoiled. What happens? She's out here with kids. She's out here struggling. She's on welfare. She's on Section 8 because none of those things that she's supposed to go from her father's house into her husband's house, it didn't exist. There's a gap in there because why? We were taught things that we ought not be taught. And we still are perpetuating those things rather than coming back to God. Give me Sirach chapter 7, verse 26.
Sirach chapter 7, verse 26. Hast thou a wife after thy mind? Forsake her not. But give not thyself over to a light woman.
So you want to make sure that when you're out here and you're proving and you're looking for a sister, make sure she understands the commandments. Don't be out here looking just because the body look good. You want to try, because that's how, I know how some brothers think. And sisters, y'all do that too. Malachi 2, verse 13.
Malachi chapter 2, verse 13. And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, and with crying out, insomuch that he regarded not the offering any more, or receiveth it with good will at your hand.
Read on.
Yet ye say, wherefore? Because the Lord had been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously.
Now, there are some men out here that do roll like that because they haven't been taught. That's why, sisters, you got to be patient when you come into this truth. When you come into the understanding of who you are, you're an Israelite according to the Bible, you have to be patient and let brothers get their minds right. Because some brothers, they come from that whoremonger life. They come from broken homes. They didn't have fathers. They have those fears of marriage because they didn't see it the right way, just like a lot of our sisters. We're damaged people, and we have to wait for God's process. You got to take the time and do it right. So don't deal treacherously. When you get a wife, don't deal treacherously with them. Read on.
Yet is she thy companion.
Because she's your friend. That's your companion. Read.
And the wife of thy covenant.
Read.
And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit.
He said he made them one. He made them one. Christ said the same thing in Matthew chapter 19, verse 5. We're going to get that. Read on. Watch this.
And wherefore one, that he might seek a godly seed.
So he may seek a godly seed, because what we don't want to resort back to is the things we read about earlier. I'm telling you, when you read about those things that are written aforetime, like it says in Willy Lynch, how mothers were being conditioned to make children weak, that cycle keeps going. If nothing intervenes and changes it, when I mean intervene, God's laws. This is what intervenes and changes that breaks that cycle. Read, watch this.
Therefore, take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth.
So don't deal crazy with your wife. Sirach 25:1.
Sirach chapter 25, verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified, and stood up beautiful, both before God and men. The unity of brethren.
Come on.
The love of neighbors. A man and a wife that agree together.
So that's a beautiful thing when a man and a wife agree together. Because this is what will happen when there is no father, and there is no structure. Play this right here. Watch this.
I'm gonna look this pretty and not have kids. Y'all think y'all the only one that's ever approached me and wanted to like be with me? No. I have 7 kids for a reason. I have 4 baby daddies for a reason. You just don't get a pretty girl like this that don't have all these kids. I'm not asking you to take care of my kids. I said take care of me. In the video I said get my nails done. I need a new oil change and stuff like that. I never said take care of my kids. I get $2,100 in food stamps. My kids not hungry. My kids have Medicaid insurance. They good. I'm talking about me.
Did you hear that? She said, my kids, I have 7 children by four different men. And Lord's will, sister can repent. But these are things that we see when fathers are not in the homes. When a marriage, a healthy marriage is not established, that's what we see in our communities. And that's more common than what we know. That is more common than what we know. Go to the child custody issue. When you see these type of things, what happens? It creates a toxic society. And this is what we see. These are the ugly things that we don't want to talk about. We don't want to discuss these in our community. Go ahead.
Give me my baby or not. I can put my own child in the car. Don't touch my car. Give me my baby so I can do it.
You're making a big deal in front of
When you give me my baby, you can go. I am grown. Don't touch my car, man. Don't touch my car. Oh, stop.
Now you're and jealous.
You still got it on camera? All right. Now, she don't want to give me my baby. I drove up here for 2 hours, and she don't want to give me my child.
There's no car seat.
Yes, it is a car seat in there, man. Car seat right there. No. Give me my baby so I can go. You don't need to be in my car. It's a car seat in there.
Now you're yelling.
I'm not yelling. I want you to give me my child so I can go home.
You're screaming at me.
I'm not screaming. But I just want my child so I can go home. Well, get in the car.
Put her in.
No, she did not.
Sophia.
Come on, man. I ain't got time to be playing with you. Well, I'm trying to go home.
It's not a game. It's
Well,
not
give me my baby so I can leave.
All right. Now you're making her upset.
All right, you got all this on camera? We will be showing it to the judge when we get my baby.
This is what happens when there is not a marriage example in the house, right here. This is what happens. Now, the brother can't even get his child. Now, they got problems because whatever differences that they have between themselves, I guarantee you this was taught. She saw this from somewhere. Let's get a book, Promises I Can Keep. Why Poor Women Put Motherhood Before Marriage. This is a good book to read. It's a lot of stuff in here that you can glean from. Let's go to the first page. Read that for me.
Poor women often say they don't want to marry until they are set.
That first part right there. Who often says that? What community have we heard that before? And I'm going to tell you how they say it. Oh, if he want to be with me, he got to provide. I can do bad all by myself. I'm not going to get married until I'm set, until I got my business established. What did that say right there? Because who's the poor community? Really think about it. Who is the poor community that this impacts? Who says stuff like this? Read that. Read it.
Poor women often say they don't want to marry until they are set economically and established in a career. A young mother often fears marriage will mean a loss of control.
Ooh-wee. What does she mean, a loss of control?
She believes that saying I do will suddenly transform her man into an authoritarian head of the house who insists on making all the decisions, who thinks that he owns her. Having her own earnings and assets buy her some say-so, power, and some freedom from a man's attempt to control her behavior.
Damn.
After all, she insists a woman with money of her own can credibly threaten to leave and take the children with her if he gets too far out of line.
Did you hear that? I did not write this book. This is how our sisters think. This is the Americanized Babylonian mindset black woman today. I did not write this. That's how they think. Get Ephesians 5 and 22.
Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
Come on.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church.
Read, watch
and he is the Savior of the body.
Come on, watch this.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Read verse 25, watch this.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
So it says that the husbands ought to love their wives. Where did it say that the husband is going to be the authority? Yeah, the husband he's the ultimate decision maker, but they really try to paint marriage in these books like the husband is some barbaric type of beat women over the head with a billy club stick and beating them into submission. That's the ideology that they put out about marriage today. Jump down to verse 28.
Verse 28. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies.
As their own bodies. As their own bodies. Who mistreats their own body? Really think about that. Who mistreats their own body? Read on.
He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
He that loves his wife loves himself. You feed yourself. You make sure you're healthy. Those are the same things you have to do for a wife. This is the idea. This is the ideology that our people have about marriage today. Read on. Watch this.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it.
They blacked this part out. They literally blacked this part out where it says, but nourisheth and cherisheth. You got to really think about it. Meditate on that. You nourish and you cherish yourself, so you're going to do the same thing with your wife. You're going to do the same thing with your wife if you believe in these commandments. Read on. Come on.
Even as the Lord, the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
So they're going to be one flesh. You really think about it. You can't look at your flesh and say, well, I don't like this part of my flesh, so I'm going to hurt this part of my own body today. You simple as hell. You are simple as hell if that's how you thinking. Get the common task associated with being head of the house.
Common task associated with head of the household role. Financial management. Decision making. Providing leadership and guidance. Household organization. Communication and conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution. Come on.
Providing emotional support.
He's got to manage all of that. Why they didn't put that in there? Why they didn't say any of this? They didn't say any of these things associated with marriage. Their mindset, because why? Because auntie taught them this. They mama taught them this. They getting all the information about marriage from a bunch of miserable ass women who ain't never had a husband. That's where they getting that from. 1 Timothy 5 and 8.
1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8.
Because they don't hang around people who have good, wholesome marriages. Read that.
But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he had denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
So, because we're going to tell brothers, hey, bro, if you don't take care of your own, you worse than the infidel, than an unbeliever. Now I get 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10.
2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 10. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you,
Read.
that if any would not work, neither shall he eat.
So we make sure that the men have jobs, that they're able to take care of themselves and their wives. And the wife should help me. Sisters take on woman work, so they do their part as well. But you both have the same mind after Christ, and you are doing what the scriptures say. That's what a healthy marriage looks like. Now get Sirach 18:33, because this is what you're not going to do.
Sirach chapter 18 verse 33.
Mm-hmm.
Be not made a beggar by banqueting upon borrowing.
Because that ain't what you cannot enter into a marriage doing that, rolling that way. Begging, borrowing, and bumming. Read.
When thou hast nothing in thy purse, for thou shalt lie in wait for thy own life and be talked on.
Yeah, because people going to talk about you. Sirach 29:21. People will talk about you if you're a bum. Now, we get it. You fall on hard times. We understand that. We brothers and sisters, we're going to help each other out. But if you that brother, you've been on hard times for the last 10 years, bro, you got to do something different. Read that.
Sirach chapter 29 verse 21. The chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing and in house to cover shame.
You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Everybody's not going to be the same social economics. They're not going to be on the same level. You got to start somewhere. You may have 10 cents. He may have 5. Y'all put y'all 15 cents together. Guess what? Y'all got a little foundation, and y'all build upon that. As long as y'all both are working towards the common goal, getting the kingdom, y'all will be fine. You're going to have trouble, but you'll be fine. Read on. Come on.
Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house.
Mm-hmm. Read.
Be it little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth.
So don't be that brother or sister y'all married in somebody else's house. You do. That is a miserable, miserable, miserable life. Don't do it. All right, next slide. Come on.
Financial management.
These are things that brothers, let's say you may not be the best at financial managing. Get with somebody who's good at it. Learn it. Learn it. These are things that come with being a leader in the house. Go back. Come on.
Budgeting. Paying bills. Managing expenses. Making financial decisions for the well-being of the household.
These things that we're going over, these are things that'll help to alleviate the fear of marriage. You have to have a conversation about these things. When you're proving a friend, you need to have a conversation about these things right here. Because get to the next one. I'm going to show you why. Right here, watch this.
70% of couples argue about money.
They do what?
Argue about money.
Yep.
More than household chores, sex, and what's for dinner.
Read that again. Let it sink in.
70% of couples argue about money.
Uh-oh.
More than household chores.
They argue about money. Money. That's what women worry about. They worry about, we read it in that Promises I Can't Keep, about they worry about being secure. That's why they want to secure their own financial, well, some of them do it for the wrong reason. They do it so they can have an escape plan. But most of the time they worry about money. They worry about that security. They worry about being vulnerable. And I'm not saying you got to be rich, but brother, have some type of financial literacy so you know how to manage your budget. You may not make as much, but you can make that work within the confines of a marriage. Go back, read that again.
70% of couples argue about money, more than household chores, sex, and what's for dinner.
Get Ecclesiastes 9:9. Because when you worried about these things, it's hard to do this.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 9. Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy vanity.
Because you'll lose sight of that when you're arguing about finances, when you're arguing about money. When there are things, you may be able to forego doing certain things, like eating that Chick-fil-A sandwich that you spend $5 every 3 days or $10, whatever. You may be able to cut back on that. And now, you provide meals at home and things of that sort. You're able to focus on why y'all got married. Because you don't want to trouble your own house. Read on. Watch this.
which he had given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity.
Read.
For that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun.
Read Matthew 19 and 5. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 5.
Matthew chapter 19, verse 5.
Come on.
And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh.
Read.
Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh.
Come on.
What therefore God had joined together, let not man put asunder.
So God put that together. If God put it together, can't no man put it asunder. And I know we often hear ain't no romance without finance. But brother, sit down and understand your budget. Don't have big eyes. And make sure, just counsel with men who are good at finances. Set aside your pride and counsel with those men. Let's get the next slide. Let's get the next one. Here we go. Watch this.
The key to the mystery lies not only in what mothers believe they can do for their children.
Because this goes back to that book. This goes back to that book. Promises I Can Keep. Why poor mothers choose motherhood over being wives. Read on.
But in what they hope their children will do for them.
Because as quiet as it's kept, a lot of mothers have children because that's their retirement plan. What can they do for me? I carried you 9 months. I need you to take care of me now that I done got old up in age. Now, we know the scriptures talk about that, but we want to make sure that we're doing things in the confines of marriages and stop perpetuating the cycle of broken homes. Go back. Read on.
Into this void comes a pregnancy and then a baby, bringing the purpose, the validation, the companionship, and the order that young women feel have been so sorely lacking. In some profound sense, these young women believe a baby has the power to solve everything.
And a lot of our people, as quiet as it's kept, they think a child has the ability to solve everything. Where's my next one? I thought I had one more. Yeah, give me the last one.
Despite these rather modest notions of what makes for good mothering, children come to mean, quite literally, everything to women like Micaiah Washington, Dina Vallis, Dominique Watkins, and Jen Burke, for they are the only truly safe emotional harbor. Poor women realize that marriage is fragile.
It says poor women realize that marriage is fragile. Where did they learn this? Ezekiel 16 and 44. Where did they learn this type of mentality from? Who taught them this? Who taught poor women this type of mentality?
Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 44. Behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter.
If the mother was unmarried, and chances are she's going to teach that to her daughter. Now go back. Watch this.
Poor women realize that marriage is fragile, and so they make their primary emotional investments in their relationships with their children, which are not subject to the threats that so often destroy relationships between men and women.
Damn. Read on. Watch this.
Sonia, a 23-year-old Puerto Rican mother of a 4-year-old son.
Northern Kingdom too. Come on.
Puts it this way. My son is my heart.
And it's supposed to be her husband. But she said her son, because guess what? She did it the wrong way. Read on. Watch this.
When I have hard times, I always tell myself I wanted him. Even if I get that rock on my finger, that white picket fence, and that deed that says the house is mine, I'll still have my son. Just in case anything goes sour, I'll say to my husband, you leave, this boy is mine.
Read that part again.
I'll say to my husband, you leave, this boy is mine.
That was taught behavior. You leave, the boy is mine. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. All right, what else I got? Let me get the next video.
I had like 8 abortions in total. I had 2 abortions this year. We
listen, but we don't judge.
MTK.
That sister said she had 8 abortions. 8 abortions. Did we get the one about the mother? The mother was horned. Let me get that one. Because what has happened today, this is the modern day of what's going on. And they were doing these things in the past. But this behavior is learned. Listen to what this is, because I'm telling you, this is a dad. Well, hold on. No. He asking his mother why they don't have the same dad. I wanted you to play. I played that first video first for a reason. Listen to this right here. Watch this.
Came to men, baby. Listen, I had my share. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I was no whore. Mm-hmm. But I was close. Mm-hmm. Hey!
Mama said, I ain't saying I was no hoe, but I was close. Because he asked her, Mama, why ain't got none of the same fathers? And then you see the sisters today, because guess what they doing? They out here doing sneaky links, doing all this other stuff. They're just aborting it. Back then, the women, they had enough sense to just have the babies, but then you started seeing women with like multiple children. Get Sirach 25 and verse 2.
Sirach chapter 25, verse 2. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth, and I am greatly offended at their life. Mm-hmm. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that doteth.
An old adulterer that doteth. She's jumping from man to man to man. That's happening in our communities, and that affects us as a nation. Give me Ezekiel 23 and 19. Because there needs to be shade.
Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 19. Yet she multiplied her whoredoms, and calling to remembrance the days of her youth.
Yep.
Wherein she had played the harlot in the land of Egypt.
Come on.
For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses.
That's when he asked his mother, like, why we ain't got all the same father? Why we got all different daddies? Because mama was out there in them streets. She was in them streets. Come on.
Whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is like the issue of horses. Mm-hmm. Thus thou callest to remembrance the lewdness of thy youth.
Did you see how her you hear how her speech kind of changed? Because she was reliving those things. Like, yeah, well, mama wasn't no hoe. But she was having them flashbacks of how she was out there jumping from rod to rod. Because mama was in them streets. Read on.
And bruising thy teats by the Egyptians.
She used and abused. And then when she get older, she's still doing it. Now play that. Yeah, play the next video. Watch this. Because there's no damn shame. None. Now we're going to put a face with who does these things. Watch this.
And some of you may be thinking, well, Chisha, I just don't see these older women dating younger men like that, right? I don't think it happens that often. Well, check out this video.
You know, it's easy to look good when you're in your 20s, your 30s, maybe even in your 40s. But the real flex is pulling that off when you're in your 50s. But the dopest flex is when the 30s and the 40s are being compared to the 50 and 60-year-olds. Amen? But the dopest flex is...
Here it comes. This is the dopest flex. Let's get it.
When you can still pull in the granddaddy, the daddy, and the grandson.
There it is.
So, who's really winning?
The grandma got gray hair. Give me Jeremiah 3 and 3. She got gray hair talking about pulling the granddad, the dad, and the grandson. You cannot make this stuff up. You can't make this up. This is supposed to be the grandma that's teaching her granddaughters about marriage, teaching her daughters about marriage. But she's saying, no, this is how you pull them. Read that, Jeremiah 3 and 3.
Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 3. Therefore the showers have been withholden, and there had been no latter rain. And thou hadst a whore's forehead.
You see that dome piece on her? A whole forehead. That's a hole. This is what they putting this stuff out there, and get older women like, yeah, girl, I remember my heyday. Whore's forehead. Come on.
Thou refusest to be ashamed.
They think that that's cute. That is not cute. We have to bring back honor in our nation. Hebrews 13:4. I'm finna wind down.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Mm-hmm. Marriage is honorable in all.
Read.
And the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
So whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. Read it again.
Marriage is honorable in all.
Marriage is honorable. Come on.
And the bed undefiled.
Come on.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
God will judge you if you are a whoremonger or an adulterer. Sirach 6 and 7. And I'm gonna close with that one.
Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him.
So don't be hasty to credit brothers and sisters. Give them time to spiritually mature in the commandments and to understand God's laws. And prove them. With that, I'm Officer Michael with IUIC New Orleans. Shalom.
What is the nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, His word,